Hello and welcome once again to this Africa Cup of Nations special here on France 24. I'm Jean-Emile Jamin, and joining me once again are sports journalist Thando Sibiya and Eurosports' Ruben Slagter to go over all the action. Guys, thanks so much for joining us on this auspicious occasion, because we have finished the third place playoff and just the one match result from Saturday, infamous third place playoff, according to at least South African boss Hugo Broos. It was, in fact, Bafana Bafana who triumphed, beating the DRC on penalties, and they claim their best finish in the Afcon since 2000. No goals in the game, which went the distance. Congolese coming closest, but more Ronwen Williams heroics in the shootout, saving 2 penalties. Guys, I'm going to go straight to the action. Start with your analysis. Not the best game, but were we expecting more for a third and fourth playoff?
Not very much, considering the teams that they brought in to come and play. I mean, Hugo Broos even said in the presser before that he doesn't even see the point of having a third place playoff. So I just think you could even see in the starting lineup that he set up for today. He didn't have Percy Tau, he didn't have Mbala. Mbala wasn't even on the bench, neither was Tau. So you could see that this man was just saying, you know what, just go on, do your best. I am quite chuffed with the selection that he did make. And Sibiya was a standout player in this game. I even mentioned it to Ruben earlier on, was that he did what he had to do, and I wish we'd seen more of him during the tournament. But congratulations to Bafana Bafana. Third place is not too bad.
Congratulations to them indeed. At least they'll be going off with a high.
Congratulations to all the South Africans here in the studio.
But you've been there for the Congo. You've been watching them. Quietly impressed with the defense led by Chancellor Mbemba. Didn't quite happen for them tonight.
Well, I think that if there was one team that should have won tonight, it was more the DRC than South Africa, especially second half. They had the chances. It was also, I think that we saw a bit, before the tournament, there was a lot of question marks about the defense of the DRC, and that would be their Achilles heel. But to be fair, they went also into the semi-final because defensively, I think it was better than many expected. Up front, maybe we expected even a bit more. I think that they have many attacking, interesting players, and tonight also, maybe it was also some kind of a symbol that they didn't score a goal tonight, because they think that they had more than they have more in the team than they showed us tonight.
Yeah, we saw, so many chances just going a bit to waste. Well, one guy who did get to watch that, not such a spectacle, but certainly something to remember, was our very own James Vasina. He was in Abidjan to see if Sébastien Desabre's men could get it done. And James joins us now from Abidjan. James, it wasn't that great a match, but it did come to penalties. Are you personally, having watched it, are you for this third and fourth place playoff game? It's always a debate.
It's a debate, and you've just got to look at the amount of work that the players come and put in on the pitch, because it's not something that's fun to watch. I mean, tonight, going into it, these are two sides that could have been really exciting, but in the end, it's not, as you've all just said there. There was not much to retain. To bounce back onto what Ruben was saying, I would say that DRC, considering the amount of misses, blatant misses that they had tonight, I don't know if you can deserve to win a game on that. Speaking about Bemba, he could have sealed it at the end for them. But to be fair, yes, the defence did actually close down the South African side and not leaving them with too many chances in the end. But actually, if we look at the two captains tonight, looking then at Ronwen Williams, same thing. Not the most impressive performance, even though, of course, going on to the penalties, he is the man who did actually manage to give them that win tonight. But all in all, watching all of that, it doesn't make you want to watch. I mean, at least it doesn't go into extra time. But maybe we should consider this. Looking at people's heart rates, watching the penalty shootouts in a game for the third place, as opposed to one going for a next spot in the tournament. I think there'll be a massive difference in that, if it's anything to take for. And that might be able to back up all of our claims, as we were saying here over the last few minutes here.
Oh, we certainly saw a lot of nervous looks on that DRC bench when the penalties were being taken, James. And once again, Ronwen Williams coming up trumps. What a tournament he's had.
He's had an incredible tournament, and I just think in this game he had a little bit of a toughie. He lost a little bit of his composure that we'd seen and we'd actually praised him for throughout the tournament. But in this game, I just feel like he dipped a little bit, but I think he carried it out and he did a stellar job. And I think if there's one thing we can walk away with, is that Ronwen Williams did an incredible job for Bafana Bafana. And I think if there is something that we can say and then go back to ask ourselves, where were the strengths for Bafana Bafana defensively and in that back with Ronwen Williams?
It would be a very interesting question indeed. Of course, really a wholesale change, Bafana Bafana defense without Mvala and Grant Kekana. So now it all comes down to this. Astonishingly, this year's Africa Cup of Nations is finishing on a Sunday. And it's the Super Eagles of Nigeria taking on the hosts Ivory Coast. It's already the second time both sides will have played each other's tournament. Nigeria having won that game 1-0. The two teams are meeting for the 8th time at Afcon history with 2 wins for the men in green, Nigeria, and 2 for the team in orange. 3 wins for Nigeria, rather, and 2 for the men in orange. So, a scintillating journey it's been for both sides. Starting with Nigeria, you saw that graphic there. They haven't lost a game or competition. Many questions were asked of Jose Peseiro coming into the tournament. Of course, starting off, Ivory Coast, their role has been quite markedly different. That 2-0 victory over Guinea-Bissau, but then that loss against Nigeria, and of course that humbling to Equatorial Guinea 4-0. They fired their coach, came back with a bang, beat Senegal, the holders. They beat Mali, having gone a man down, and then that 1-0 against the DRC. 2 very different paths, guys. Ruben, I'm going to start with you. I mean, did we ever expect the Ivory Coast would get to this position after match day 2? I will say match day 2 because match day 1 was quite a different start.
Well, to be fair, I always thought that the final would be Senegal against Morocco, so I'm out already just before talking about it. But no, I think if there's one thing that we can say about this Ivorian team is that when it went not so good, I think that a lot of people were just saying, okay, this is a disastrous team, and when it's now going well, we're saying this is an incredible team. Both things are not right. I mean, that Equatorial Guinea match, you will see it once in a lifetime, that you have 4 shots on goal, they go all in, 2 cancelled goals for offsides. Yeah, I mean, that was just a miracle game. That will happen once in a tournament. The only thing that we can say now, that there's something now in the team, there's some spirit and belief that they are really convinced that they can win it, and there you have to credit the new head coach for, of course, James Vasina, because he managed to turn it around after the group stage. So, yeah, did we expect it? Of course not. But now they are in the final. I can't say that they are not that they're without any chance. I think that they will really fancy the chances.
Let's hear from Emersfai because he came in after Jean-Louis Gasset was fired at the end of the group stage. They thought it was all over, and then he's come in. They thought that we're going to get Hervé Renard from the French women's team. Didn't manage to do that. And now we've got one of these Cinderella stories. Emersfai missed the Afcon win for Ivory Coast as a player. Here he is as a coach. Let's hear from him ahead of the final.
Winning the tournament as a host country is very tough. So tomorrow, we will do our very best for 90 minutes to try and achieve that, and to add a 3rd star onto the orange shirt of Ivory Coast. We'll keep working today to try to accomplish it.
Can they add a 3rd star? That's the biggest question, because they have seen such an evolution more up front, I would say. I'm not sure at the back, but do you think Emersfai can actually do it?
I think they can. I really think they can. Looking at their opposition, they're going to have to do something in attack because defensively Nigeria is incredibly strong. That's something that anyone can remark. From the back, you have a very strong goalkeeper who's been doing really well, only conceded 2 goals throughout the tournament. And then you look at how they pack up defensively. Even in their formation, it's 4 and then going into 3 or maybe even 4-4 and then 2 or 1, which then shows you that they're building up from behind. And then, like Ruben said earlier on, they do just enough. So they hold it defensively, and then every now and again, when they seek those opportunities, they make sure that they capitalize on it. I think Coach Peseiro even said it in a presser once, that all he wants is to score 1 goal and not concede. And we've seen them perform like that during the tournament. And so if we're then bringing it back to Ivory Coast, they're going to have to then look into that and see where they can crack the Nigerian defense. I definitely think they can do it, though, because like we said, there's something that we don't necessarily always see in football, but if you've seen good football over the years, they have the spirit. The spirit of football is very alive in Ivory Coast right now. And they speak about le maillot orange, which is that orange jersey. So you know that this means so much to them. And I think they have been building up over the time. They have the return of Hala, who's actually been quite impactful. And I think that we can't necessarily build the whole team around him. But I just think seeing the return of him and then seeing the polishing of the two Fofanas, actually, because then having conceded 4 goals and then seeing how he returns. I think it was in the game against Guinea, or if I'm not mistaken, or Cameroon, one of those 2 games. And where his distribution into attack was actually quite where the build-up starts from. So I think just seeing the improvement of the likes of those players and then seeing also what they have on the bench, they have a lot of depth. But I think if they can just work on capitalizing that and, like I've been saying, cracking Nigeria's defense.
Nigeria's defense, there was one guy that actually France 24 did catch up with who knows all about defense and what it takes to beat Nigeria. It's Emmanuel Ebuye. He is the former Ivory Coast defender. And what a player he was. Let's hear from him about what it would take to beat Nigeria.
This team's problem used to be defence. During this Afcon, we realised that Nigeria is one of the best teams in this tournament when it comes to defence. Emos Faye has already got this idea in his head. He knows how to train, how to talk to the players, so that we can go up against the other team with heart.
We heard from Ebuye, they're all about heart. And one man who's been seeing all the heart is, of course, James back in Abidjan. James has been immersed around all of those Ivory Coast supporters. Tell me, James, what is the sense of belief there right now? We just want to lap it up.
Well, look, the sense of belief ever since, yes, they did make it through to the knockout round is that they can go all the way. They've been saying this, they've been adamant about it from the very start. It seems kind of almost, you can say it's laughable from the start if we consider how things went, of course, in that 4-0 massive defeat. But to credit to fans, the team has managed to uphold things and is here then in the final slots. Obviously, as you've all been mentioning there, it's a massive turnaround for the Ivory Coast. Sebastian Haller said just a bit earlier that now there's nothing to lose. I think that's quite representative of what this means for the team. They've come from so far back. If things don't go to plan, if they don't beat Nigeria, they're going to be able to go out with their heads held high. You're a host nation and you're in the final of the Africa Cup of Nations. It hasn't happened for quite a bit, and winning it would be something else. And I think they would definitely have redeemed themselves for everything that's happened. Yes, they've switched. I mean, when you think about what's happened to the team, it's quite crazy, isn't it, to think that over the few weeks they've sacked the manager, they've shifted the defence, they've improved their attack. And here they are. So it is a miraculous situation, and fans, yes, do believe that they can do it. And some say that it's already job done, and that tomorrow everything's going to be sorted, and they're not scared at all of Nigeria. They've already managed to get this far. It's nothing's going to stop the Elephants. So the belief, yes, Jean, is extremely high that they can lift the trophy on home turf.
Absolutely palpable. Thanks so much, James. And of course, Ruben, it's not such a foregone conclusion, because if we look at the way that we've all been saying, Nigeria's route to the final, they just don't concede. They've conceded against Equatorial Guinea, and then that late penalty against South Africa in the semi-final. What's it going to take to break down this Trust Ekong-led defense?
I think, first of all, I hope that the Ivory Coast have watched how South Africa did it, because there were a lot of interesting things, and this is not an unbeatable Nigerian team. This is a stable Nigerian team. It's also stable because you're always afraid of those 3 players up front who can score a goal anytime. I think that's also really difficult, because when you're going to press them, you know that on the counter-attack, players like Moses Simon and Victor Osimhen, who are so fast, can punish you straight away. So you have to find that balance between pushing them, because Troost Ekong is a solid defender, Calvin Bassey is a solid defender, but not the best defenders on this planet. I have to say that. So if you can, if a player like Haller can really go 1-to-1 versus Troost Ekong, I think he will fancy his chances. That's not a problem. The whole issue will be, of course, how to keep it tight at the back when those counterattacks will come. And for me, the key will be in midfield. If those midfielders from the Ivory Coast, who we have all been saying before the tournament, that's their strongest part of the team. If Seko Fofana will show up, if Frank Kessié will play and show up, because it's not sure yet, but that's where the match can be won, because I think that there they have more to offer than Nigeria.
Really, and you agree with that,
I do,
Thando, that
yeah.
Nigeria is just lacking a little bit in the midfield?
They're lacking in the, not necessarily lacking in the midfield. They just have stronger points in attack and in defense. And then that leaves that gap of the midfield, which we don't pay much attention to. And so we can then easily fall into the trap of saying that they're lacking, but it's just perhaps they haven't been given the opportunity to perform. And so I think in tomorrow's game, that's probably where we're going to be having to look out for those kinds of places. So if then the technical staff from Ivory Coast have done their research and the technical directors and all of them have seen those kinds of things, then I think they'll be able to crack it.
Just a word on this, guys. Every single final that the Ivory Coast has been in has gone to penalties. So is this what we can expect tomorrow? I'm just going to get one quick result preview from both of you.
I just really hope that we have a quick goal, because then we have a game. The longer it will take, I think that they will close up, and then it can be maybe a bit boring. I just hope we'll have a quick goal. And if I have to really put my money on one of the two teams, I still think that a team with Victor Osimhen is always the favorite. So I will go with Nigeria.
A real target striker. What a player he's been.
The provider. That's the thing. I think we've been speaking about it. A lot of people have seen that he's not necessarily what people expected him to do in terms of giving those outright goals and having his name on the score sheet.
Will that win them the tournament, though?
Yes.
Oh,
I
so
would possibly.
Both of you going for a Nigeria win in Ivory Coast. Guys, I dare say you might be on the receiving end of some very big disappointment from the host nation there with that preview. But nonetheless, it is a one-off match. It is the Africa Cup of Nations, and what a tournament it has been, given these shock results. Two teams who very much deserve to be in the final, Nigeria and the host Ivory Coast. That's all the time that we have for now, but please enjoy the match, and thank you for joining us. Thank you to Ruben, thank you to Thando, and thank you to James there in Abidjan. We can't wait to bring you the final spectacle here on France 24.